Forex Metatrader 4 indicators are commonly used, and a lot of people jump into trading with the idea of using the indicators as a primary tool, but there are some concerns when using the indicators, so stay with me and I will show you what I mean. Welcome to the trading channel, it's Petko Alexandrov. A very warm welcome to this video, and stay with me until the end to see what are the concerns when using Forex Metatrader 4 indicators. And actually the indicators on the different platforms are very similar, so no matter if you use Metatrader 4 or another platform, you will encounter the same issues when using indicators over the charts. And for the purpose of this video, I have selected to use the Black Bull Markets, which is a trusty broker from our regulated brokers that we use in the academy. You can check them out on our website if you have no idea which broker to use. So this will be useful for you if you have hard times finding a broker. So in front of me, I have the Euro-Dollar chart on 1 hour. Which means that every candlestick represents a 1 hour, and this is a plain chart. We don't have any indicators, and if you are a beginner, probably the chart doesn't mean anything to you and you are frustrated. But even if you are advanced, even for me, sometimes when I look at the charts, I don't know, is it a good time to buy or is it a good time to sell? And for example, if we look at that moment in April, the market just goes up and down, up and down, up and down. And what is it now? Is it time to buy or is it time to sell? Without an indicator over the chart, it's really hard to say where the market is going. And even if I go to a lower time frame like M30, you will see the very same thing. Even if I switch down to M15, it's hard to say. There are moments when the market goes in one direction and it's easier to understand and to do some prediction, but when the market is just going up and down and we see the chart this way without looking the bigger picture on a daily chart, it's really hard to say where the market is going. Alright, so let me put now one indicator over the chart. I will click on insert, and this is where the Forex Metatrader 4 indicators are, and they are available as well in the navigator. But if I click on insert and I go to indicators, you will see that they are grouped in different categories. We have the trend indicators, we have the oscillators, the volumes, the Bill Williams, and we have some custom indicators. Now the trend indicators are probably the most popular ones, and I will choose the moving average, which is one of the first indicators out there, and for me one of the best indicators. Okay, now we have by default period of 14, but I will select period 5 just to explain better what that is and to give you a better idea about how we use these indicators. So after I clicked OK, you see a line over the chart that goes below the price when the market is bullish, and it stays above the price when the market is negative. Okay, and if I scroll the chart, you will see that sometimes this moving average goes through the candlesticks. So how do we know when it's a good idea to buy or to sell? Now, when using Forex Metatrader 4 indicators, there are a variety of strategies with each indicator. So with this moving average, I can give you a lot of trading strategies, but I will give you an example of one right now. For example, it is a decent strategy, and I'm using this strategy a lot with Bitcoin actually. Every time when the bar opens above the moving average, actually for the Bitcoin, sorry guys, for the Bitcoin I'm using it on daily chart, but right now I just want to give you an idea how I'm using the strategy. I will take a crosshair to make it more visual. So every time we have a bar that opens above the moving average, we have a buy signal. Okay, for example, this candlestick right here opened above the moving average, so this is a buy signal at that moment. I can put one horizontal line and I can put a vertical line. Here we go. At that moment we have the buy signal. And then when we have a bar that clearly opens below the moving average, for example this one over here, we close the trade and we take the profit. Okay, right over here you can see that this bar, or this day, this candlestick opened below the moving average. So in this case we would take a profit of over 200 pips. Actually, if I have to be precise, it is 205 pips. Okay, on a daily chart with euro dollar. But one more time, this strategy I'm using with the Bitcoin, I have explained it recently in one of my courses for the Bitcoin. It's called the simplest Bitcoin trading strategy because it's super simple indeed, but I use one more moving average to confirm the direction. And I'm not going into this strategy right now. I want to explain what are the Forex Metatrader 4 indicators, and at the same time how useful they are, and at the same time what are the cons. Now if I zoom the chart over here with this example, I picked it super randomly. One more time, that's not a strategy for euro dollar, it's for the Bitcoin. I'm showing it over the euro dollar just for demonstrational purposes, but I want to show you something. If we look back at the chart, have a look at this candlestick. I said that when the candlestick opens below the moving average, we should be closing the trade. Now I will ask you something. Did this bar open below or above the moving average? It's super hard to say, right? Because if I put the mouse on it, we can see the four values. We see that we have the open, the high, the low, and the close prices. So the open price is at 118.88, right over here, 118.88, but the moving average has the value of 118.90. Okay, a little bit higher, but pay attention to this. If I right click over the chart and I go to indicators list, I will go to the settings of the moving average, I will click on edit, and you will see that it applies to close, which means that this value of the moving average at this candlestick right here, we have a moving average one more time with the value of 118.90. This value for the moving average is at the closing of the candlestick, not at the opening. So we don't really know where the moving average was when the bar opened. We can assume that it was the value from the previous bar, because when the previous bar closed, there should be the opening, but because this is a daily candlestick, there is a difference between the closing and the opening of the next bar. So just to summarize it, probably the moving average was lower than the opening at this candlestick, but we cannot say this with certainty. We don't know this from the chart. We cannot understand that. Okay? And a lot of traders and mentors build their strategies just by looking back on the chart, but that is wrong. What you need to know about the moving averages and about most of the Forex Metatrader 4 indicators is that they are repeating. Okay, so what exactly happened at the opening of this bar, we don't know that. So if I go to the end of the chart by pressing this button on the top which says scroll the chart to the end of on ticking coming, you will see that the price is not moving simply because it is Saturday. I'm recording this video on Saturday. I usually take my time during the weekends to record as more videos as I possibly can when I'm not trading. And you will see that we have a current value for the moving average that sits at 118.32.3. But this value was different at the opening of the bar, and it's totally different at the closing of the bar. So during the day, during Friday, this value of the moving average was changing. And when Monday the market opens, we will have a fixed value on the moving average. Alright, so how the moving average is calculated? I wanted to bring out the first concern, which is the major concern when we are using moving averages and other Forex Metatrader 4 indicators. But of course, there is a solution to this problem, which I will mention just in a second. So for you to understand me better, I want to tell you how the moving averages are calculated. So what actually the moving average does, it makes the chart smoother, right? I will just increase the moving average right now. I will make it thicker. I will pick the thickest option. I will click on OK, and here it is. Okay, so if you try to ignore the candlesticks and just look at the line, you will see that it makes the chart smoother, right? Right here the market goes down, after that it goes up. And you see, with our example, we have positive candlestick, negative, positive, negative, positive, 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 negative, positive, positive. We have kind of gravestone doji formation or something like that. And here the market just goes sideways. But you see that the 5 moving average clearly shows that direction is upwards and the market continues until that moment. Then we have a drop, then the market continues higher. So simply said, the moving average makes the chart more understandable, smoother, and we have an idea of where the market is going. Is it going down? Is it going up? Is it staying just flat? Or it's just sideways, right? You can see that the moving average really shows the direction. So the first concern is that it is repeating, it changes its value on the current bar. And the first pro is that it makes the chart smoother so we can clearly see the direction. Now, how the moving average is calculated? The simple moving average is calculated based on the closings of the candlesticks. And because I selected period of 5, it means that the last 5 days, the closing of the last 5 days, let me go back to the end. Okay, so the closing of the last 5 days are summed and divided by 5. So it is the closing of that day plus the closing of this 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 day divided by 5. Okay, it's that simple. So you see that the closing of this day, for example, is 118.71. Then we have the closing of 118.63 plus the closing of 118.35 plus 118.32 plus 117.59 divided by 5 should be 118.32. Okay, this is how the moving average is calculated. It's super simple, and that's why it's called a simple moving average. We have a few different moving averages. By the method they are calculated, so it could be a simple, it could be exponential, it could be smoothed, or it could be weighted, but I'm not going into details how they are calculated. If I switch to exponential, you will see no big difference. Look at the chart. Here it is. Very, very small difference, okay? So it depends what your strategy is and where are the entries, the exits. Some strategies work with the simple, some strategies work with the other methods. One more time, not a huge difference over the chart. Alright, so the different Forex Metatrader 4 indicators are calculated with different formulas. You don't need to go into details about the indicators, but the second concern that you need to know about the indicators is that the default parameters don't really work. So by default, as you saw with the moving average, was period of 14, but these default parameters were created from the brokers, and if you use the default parameters, probably you're about to lose money. Okay, I don't say certainly, but I say probably. Look at that, with the default 14, if you buy when the price goes above and you sell when the price goes below, you will be buying and selling a few times here, then here you will be selling, buying, selling, buying, selling, and then buying where? It's hard to say, right? Depends on the strategy one more time, but the default parameters doesn't really work. Now, the second pro, if I zoom out the chart, okay, the second pro that I want to give you is that if you combine different indicators, for example, I will add moving average of 50, and I will click on OK, we'll make it thicker again. Let's change the color to, what is it, green. I will click on OK. Here it is. When we have two moving averages, it's one of the first methods to build a strategy. We can use the cross. So when the slow moving average crosses the long one, it's a decent buy entry. And then when they cross, we can sell, but I would prefer to do the following. When they cross, I would buy, and when the fast or the 5 moving average turns downwards, I would sell. Okay, so for example with this one, it would be an entry at about 118.58, and it would be an exit at 122.13, for example, right? But one more time, that's not a precise strategy. I'm just giving you an example how the Forex Metatrader 4 indicators could be used, and there are a variety of strategies. So when we have 2 or more indicators over the chart, we eliminate the false entries and we build trading strategies. Alright, so this is how the Forex Metatrader 4 indicators work. And in upcoming videos, I will be talking about building a strategy, how we know exactly where the entries are and where are the exits. I personally use a professional builder called EA Studio that you can find on our website at eaforexacademy.com. You can test a free 15 days trial, which is super useful. You can build strategies. So right here I have the 5 moving average, you can see, and the 50. This strategy applies on Bitcoin, and you can see the backtest. So we can see clearly what is the performance. We can see clearly all of the trades that open and closed, and simply this saves a lot of time, okay? A lot of time, because we can build the strategies and we can even automate it as an expert advisor and trader automatically on MetaTrader. But without that, I wouldn't know what are the right parameters for the strategy. If I switch, for example, to euro dollar, you will see that this strategy doesn't really work that well. It's just going up and down and up and down, not as good as with the Bitcoin, okay? So again, I wouldn't know that without a strategy builder. Alright, so thank you guys for watching the video. If you have any questions about the MetaTrader 4 indicators, let me know. Be super happy to answer in the comments below. If you have found the video useful, thumbs up, and I will see you guys in another video. Take care and enjoy trading.